Hey guys, sorry for being such a long time since I've uploaded a video. I think it's been like 3 weeks or something. But I went out of town and just a lot has been happening, so I haven't had time to like think about even what I would make a video about. But I'm finally doing it, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this one. It's a little bit different than what I've been doing. This one, I know I've been doing a lot of Memphis related things or like just America related things. I really haven't branched out from just around here. But this one happened in Singapore in 1979, and some of you may have heard about it. I know some other channels have made videos about these murders. They are either referred to as the Tan family murders or the Geylang Bahru family murders. And I hope I'm saying that right. They're kind of strange names for me, and I just hope that I'm saying them correctly. And if not, I'm sorry. I'm trying my best. But as with all my videos, I don't mean any disrespect to the family members or anyone affected by it. I just hope I'm bringing some light to these murders and just doing what I can to let other people know what happened. Okay, so this family included the parents Tan Quen Chai and Lei Mei Ying, and there are 4 children: Tan Kok Peng, who was 10 years old, Tan Kok Hin, who was 8 years old, and Tan Kok Soon, who was 6 years old. And those were three boys. And then the youngest, Tan Chin Ni, was a girl. She was 5 years old. So the 3 boys attended school together at Bendemeer Road, while Tan Chin Ni attended kindergarten at a different school. Their parents, Tan Quen Chai and Lei Mei Ying, operated a minibus service, and each morning they would go and pick up children and take them to school, and that was their job. And so they would get up at like 6 a.m. and go and take students to school, and then they would call their children while they were doing that, make sure they were awake and getting ready for school, and then they'd come back and take their kids to school. And they lived in a small flat in Block 58 of Geylang Bahru, which is a neighborhood. They lived in an apartment, and January 6th was no different from their routine. The parents left the flat at approximately 6:45 a.m., and when they left, the 4 children were still asleep in their beds. And at around 7:10, Mei Yang called the home phone and didn't receive an answer, which was strange because usually one of the older children would get up and answer the phone and then start waking up the younger kids. And she called twice after she didn't receive a response, and then called a close friend who was one of the neighbors to go and knock on the door and wake the children up. But when the neighbor went over, the kids still did not wake up, and there was no response at the door. And at 10 a.m., the parents were able to finally return home, so about 3.5 hours since they had left. And that's when they saw a horrific sight, and a sight that no parent should ever see. All of the 4 children were viciously murdered in their home, and each child had at least 20 slashes to their body and were dressed in pants and a t-shirt, which was something strange because when the parents had left, the kids were still in bed in their pajamas. The children were stacked one on top of each other, and the oldest child was gripping some long hairs in his, I believe, right arm, and the right arm was nearly severed off. And although the children were violently murdered, there was the only trace of blood or any evidence was in the kitchen sink. So police believe that the murderer spent a lot of time afterwards cleaning up everything. And one strange thing, or kind of sad, or I don't know how it makes me feel, but one older neighbor, I believe she's 68 years old, her name is Ying Ten, said she normally sits out in the corridor every morning and just watches the kids go to school and watches the neighbors, says hi to everybody. It's just her morning routine. Said that morning she decided not to go and sit outside, and had she been sitting outside, she would have seen anyone who went in or out of the apartment, which is just like, oh, could have all been solved right then. But c'est la vie. After thorough investigation, the detectives believe that the murderer was someone that the family knew really well, and that knew the family really well. And that's for a couple of reasons. The first one is because there was no signs of forced entry, and this could be because the mother said she had recently lost her house key, but also maybe it's someone that the kids knew, and when the kids heard the knock at the door, they let this person in thinking, oh, it's just our family friend, whoever, And also, the killer had to have known the family's routine very well, because there was only a short amount of time between when the parents left and when they called. So that's only about, 25 minutes. So either the killer had already finished by the time the 25 minutes were up, or it was going on right then, like it was in the middle of him cleaning up or something like that, because the parents would have called and, they only had a short amount of time to know exactly, they had to know exactly when they were going to go inside. So, 2 weeks after the murders, the family received a card for the Chinese New Year. It depicted children playing outside and had the words, "Now you can have no more offspring, ha ha ha," and was signed "The Murderer," and addressed the parents by their nicknames. And it was all written in Mandarin. So it's someone who knew that the mother, Mei Ying, had a sterilization operation. So after she had her last child. So it was someone who knew very intimate details about the family. And so that was kind of really, really creepy. So the suspects, there's really only one suspect, and a witness to this one suspect was a taxi driver from Talpeyo, I hope I'm saying that right, and he reported that a man in his 20s boarded his taxi very close to the crime scene at 8 a.m. the morning of the murders. And this man walked with a limp and had blood stains on the left side of his body and was carrying a knife. And he knew he was carrying a knife because he could hear the knife hitting the door while he was driving him to his destination. So the parents took the description that the taxi driver gave and believed that it was of one of their neighbors. And this neighbor would use their phone pretty much daily and was very close with the family, and they referred to him as Uncle. And then also, this neighbor was put in a police lineup, and the taxi driver picked him out of the lineup. But the suspect was released after only, I think, a couple of days, because police believed there wasn't enough evidence to charge him with the crime. So, that's really the only suspects that police have. There have been a couple hoaxes because it's a really famous and well-known crime that's happened in Singapore because it was so horrible. So the children were buried on January 7th of that year, and they were buried together with their school bags and books and toys. And eventually, Mrs. Tan underwent a sterilization reversal operation and was able to have a baby boy on December 30th, 1983. So she was able to have kids again, which was really great, because several newspapers in Singapore interviewed them, and they just talked about how horrible life was without all of their children, and so she was finally able to have another child, which was really great. But the killer has still not been brought to justice, and this happened in 79, so it's been a really long time since this has happened, and really no one has been charged with the crime. There's only been one suspect, and so, I mean, if you know anything about this crime or anything like that, there are people that you can call and let them know. It's really, really sad, and no parent should ever have to go through that, especially with 4 children. I mean, I can't even imagine how horrible that would be, but I hope that you found this video interesting, and I know several other people have done videos about it. I know Kaylee Elise has done a video about it as well, so y'all should check out her video, and post any comments you have down in the comment section, and give this video a thumbs up for more like it. Thanks.